She texted, "I'm sleeping at my ex's house tonight. You need to prove you're not the insecure type by being okay with it." I replied, "Prove what you need to." Then I called her ex's wife and asked if she knew my fiancé was sleeping over. The three-way call that followed changed everything. I never thought I'd be that guy, the one telling a story that sounds too insane to be real. But here we are. My fiancée, Emily, and I had been together for 4 years, engaged for 8 months. We met in a volunteer program at a local animal shelter. She was this funny, loud, radiant woman who always had dog hair on her jeans and somehow made it look charming. I was the quieter one, the tech guy, as her friends joked. I handled systems work for a mid-sized logistics company, good salary, good benefits, simple life. Emily was more creative, freelance photography, lots of social media presence, always chasing that authentic lifestyle aesthetic. She had a decent following online, around 30K followers on Instagram, and she sometimes got sponsorships from local brands. I supported her fully. She had that natural magnetism that pulled people in. For the first few years, we were solid. She was affectionate, grounded, and had that fiery personality that made even mundane things, grocery shopping, late-night ramen, feel cinematic. But about 6 months after the engagement, something changed. It started subtle. Comments about how I was too predictable, how I never got jealous. She'd say it half-jokingly, usually after showing me a text from a guy she used to know. She'd smile and say, "You don't even flinch. That's kind of boring, you know?" I'd laugh it off, but it stuck. It always stuck. The night that started everything, she'd been at a friend's birthday party, one of those influencer meetups, as she called it. Lots of photos, reels, and group videos. She came home late, around 1:30 a.m., smelling like perfume that wasn't hers. I didn't ask questions. I didn't want to be that guy. She climbed into bed, unlocked her phone, typed something, smirked. Then she looked at me and said, "You trust me, right?" "Of course," I said. "Even if I hung out with an ex?" I blinked, not expecting that. "Why would you?" She shrugged, eyes still on her phone. "He's been going through stuff. His wife's apparently being awful to him, and he just needs someone to talk to." Her ex was a guy named Ryan. They dated briefly in college, and from everything she'd told me, he was the one who cheated on her. I'd met him once at a mutual friend's wedding. He tried to shake my hand with that fake grin that screams, "I know something you don't." I told her, "If you feel comfortable with it, I'm not going to stop you. But I'd rather not make a habit of that kind of thing." She laughed. "You really aren't the jealous type, huh? That's rare." She rolled over and went to sleep like it was nothing. I lay awake another 2 hours staring at the ceiling. A few weeks later, I got the text. It was a Thursday night. I was working late from home when her name popped up. "Emily. Hey, I'm sleeping over at Ryan's tonight. He's been a mess since the divorce filing. You need to prove you're not the insecure type by being okay with it." I read it 3 times. Not ask, not inform, but challenge. Prove you're not insecure. Like it was a test. Like she'd already planned how she'd use my reaction in her next post about emotional maturity or something. My hands were shaking, but not from anger, from that slow, creeping sense of clarity. Something inside me clicked. I typed back, "Prove what you need to." Then I set my phone down, opened my laptop, and started thinking. See, Ryan's divorce wasn't actually final. I knew that because his wife, Hannah, used to be in our friend circle. She was quiet, kind, and one of the few people who'd actually liked me for my awkward sense of humor. They had a 2-year-old daughter together. I found her number in an old group chat. I hesitated for maybe 10 seconds before dialing. "Hey, Hannah," I said when she picked up. "This is Mark, Emily's fiancé." Long pause. Then a wary, "Oh hey, what's up?" I took a deep breath. "I'm sorry to call like this, but Emily texted me that she's sleeping over at Ryan's tonight. I just wanted to make sure you knew about that." Silence. Then a shaky laugh. "She what?" I heard something in the background. A door creak. "Maybe." She said, "Hold on a second," and I heard her walking. Then she said quietly, "He told me he was staying at his brother's tonight." Another pause. Then she sighed. "You know what, Mark? Stay on the line. Let's find out." Before I could say anything, she pressed a button. And suddenly, a third voice joined. "Ryan here." The casual, half-slurred voice of a man who didn't expect consequences. "Hey," Hannah said, deceptively calm. "Who's there with you?" Ryan froze for half a second. Just some friends. What? Then Emily's voice, muffled but distinct, came through. Tell her I'll grab the charger from your car in a sec. The silence that followed was the kind that makes your pulse audible. Ryan, Hannah said slowly, you're on speaker. Mark's on the call. He said nothing, just breathing. Then Emily's nervous laugh. Wait, what? I could almost see her face in that instant, eyes wide, realizing she'd just walked into her own mess. Ryan started to say something. Look, it's not what it. But Hannah hung up first. And then it was just me and her. Breathing, silent, tired. I'm sorry you had to hear that, she said softly. I guess now we both know. Yeah, I whispered. We do. Emily came home the next morning around 8 a.m. She smelled like someone else's cologne. She tried to act normal, kissed my cheek, poured herself coffee, asked if I'd fed the cat. I didn't say a word. When she finally noticed, she frowned. What's with the silent treatment? I looked up from my laptop and said quietly, I talked to Hannah. Her face went pale. She opened her mouth, closed it again, then tried to twist it into outrage. You called her? Mark, that's insane. You completely invaded my privacy. I said nothing, just stared until she broke. She tried to cry, the soft, strategic kind of crying meant to make you feel like the villain. But it didn't work this time. When she realized that, she got angry instead. So that's it. You're just gonna throw away everything because I tried to help someone. I stood up, walked past her, and said, you didn't want to help anyone. You wanted to test how much power you had. That night, I packed a bag and left. I spent the next few days at my brother's place, running on autopilot. Emily texted a few times, long, emotional paragraphs about misunderstandings, testing boundaries, how I overreacted. I didn't respond. Not until she sent this. You can't ghost me forever. People will think you're the crazy one. And something about that last line, that threat disguised as self-victimization, hit a nerve. Because it meant she'd already started her next move that I didn't sleep that night. My brother, Nate, kept asking if I was okay, but I didn't have words for it. I wasn't angry anymore, just cold, detached, like my mind had switched into observation mode, documenting instead of feeling. The next morning, I woke up to a flood of notifications. Texts from mutual friends, co-workers, even my mother, all with variations of the same question. Mark, what's this Emily posted about you? My stomach dropped. I opened Instagram. There it was, a new post on her account. A carefully lit photo of her sitting on our old couch, tear-streaked, captioned, sometimes emotional abuse doesn't look like yelling. It looks like silence. It looks like someone isolating you from people who need help. It looks like being punished for being compassionate. Please, if you're with someone controlling, speak up before it's too late. Red Heart hashtag mental health awareness hashtag toxic relationships. Thousands of likes. Hundreds of comments. People comforting her, validating her strength. And the comments. God, the comments. You deserve better, girl, Red Heart. Classic narcissist behavior. Stay safe. He sounds like a psycho. I stared at the screen for 10 minutes straight. She'd rewritten the entire narrative overnight. I wasn't the calm one who found out about her betrayal. I was now the emotionally abusive fiancé who isolated her. And because she had a following, people believed her. I wanted to scream, to post screenshots, to show the truth. But my brother stopped me. Don't, he said. She's baiting you. If you react emotionally, you'll just fit her story. He was right. So I did what I'm good at. I started documenting. First thing, I made backups. Screenshots of our text threads, timestamps of her "prove you're not insecure" message, even the call log showing the three-way call with Hannah. I saved them all, printed copies, encrypted drive, cloud storage. Then I wrote down everything in sequence, as if preparing a report. Times, dates, direct quotes. Second, I contacted Hannah. She'd already seen the post. Apparently, people had been messaging her too, since she and Ryan were still technically married. She said quietly, she's trying to flip it before it hits her. Ryan's panicking too. I kicked him out last night. He's saying Emily's threatening to tell everyone I abused him. It fit perfectly. Both of them rewriting history before anyone could confirm the truth. I asked if she'd be willing to confirm the call if things escalated. She said yes without hesitation. You deserve to protect yourself. Just keep everything. Don't engage. A few days passed. Emily didn't stop. She doubled down. She started posting healing journey videos, crying softly in her car, talking about being scared to tell her story. She hinted that her fiancé tracked her phone and called people to humiliate her. The comments became vicious. One person even tagged my company. That's when I knew I had to act. I called a lawyer, a calm, gray-haired man named David Green, who'd handled online defamation cases before. I told him everything, showed him the screenshots. He read them in silence for 15 minutes, then looked up and said, "You've done everything right so far. Don't post anything. Don't talk to her publicly. We'll send a cease and desist and file for defamation if she doesn't stop." He drafted a formal letter, unemotional, concise, devastatingly factual. It outlined the false statements, provided time-stamped contradictions, and requested immediate removal of the posts within 48 hours. We sent it to her email, her agency inbox, and her brand partners. 48 hours later, half her posts were gone. Another day, and her account went private. That night, I got a text from her. "I can't believe you lawyered up against me. You're proving everything I said." I didn't reply. "You humiliated me in front of everyone, Mark. You called his wife. Do you know how that made me look? Still nothing. You'll regret this. You're not the victim here." Then finally, the last one. "I hope you're happy. You ruined my life." I turned off my phone. The next few weeks were strange. Quiet, but tense. I went back to work, stayed with my brother, saw my parents once. Everyone was cautious around me, like I was carrying radiation. Some believed me. Some didn't say either way. That's the thing no one talks about. When someone lies publicly, truth doesn't erase damage. It just dulls it over time. I started therapy. My therapist, an older woman named Carla, told me something that stuck. You can't control what people believe. You can only control what evidence exists when the truth finally matters. So I kept collecting evidence, quietly, methodically. Then, a month later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was a journalist. Apparently, a mid-sized online magazine had reached out to Emily for an interview about surviving emotional abuse. She'd sent them my name, my job, and even hinted I'd threatened her legally. But the journalist said, "We reached out for comment, and she refused to provide documentation. When I found out she's under a cease and desist, I figured I'd give you a heads up." I sent him everything, screenshots, the letter, call logs. He thanked me and said, "That clarifies a lot." The piece never ran. A few days later, Hannah texted me. "Thought you should know, Ryan moved back in with his mom. Emily blocked him everywhere. Guess they turned on each other." It didn't make me happy, not really. Just tired. Because by then, I understood what had happened. None of it was ever about love, or truth, or even betrayal. It was about control, who got to define the narrative. And for once, she couldn't. Update 1. 2 months later, Emily emailed me. Subject line: closure. The message started polite. Apologetic, even. She said she acted out of pain and felt cornered. That seeing me not react hurt more than anything. Then it got darker. She wrote, "You embarrassed me, Mark. I wanted to show you how it feels to be powerless. But now I see that you don't feel things like normal people. Maybe that's why I needed to provoke you." It was half apology, half accusation. The same manipulation, just wrapped in new words. I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded it to my lawyer and had it added to the file. He wrote back one sentence: "You did the right thing by staying silent." A few weeks later, one of her old sponsors, a local brand, contacted me privately. They'd terminated her contract after the defamation issue. The rep said, "She mentioned you might want your side of the story told. Would you like to give a statement?" I said no. I was done being part of anyone's content. Final update: it's been 11 months since that night. Since the text, the call, the fallout. And sometimes, it still hits me out of nowhere. A sound, a phrase, a memory, like static under the skin. I live alone now, in a small apartment on the other side of town. No engagement photos, no pastel decor, no future plans scrawled on white boards. The silence used to crush me. Now it feels like oxygen. When I moved out, I thought starting fresh would be easy. Just delete the old photos, change numbers, block accounts. But what no one tells you is that recovery isn't deleting data. It's reprogramming trust. For the first few months, I replayed everything in my head like courtroom evidence. The way she'd smirk when she tested me. The tone she used when she said, "Prove it." I used to think love meant patience, giving someone space to be messy, emotional, human. But there's a fine line between patience and permission. Emily didn't want love. She wanted an audience. And I spent years mistaking applause for connection. That realization took longer to digest than the betrayal itself. I ran into Hannah about 4 months ago, by accident, at a coffee shop near the park. She looked tired but peaceful. We talked for an hour, mostly about ordinary things. Work, her kid, therapy. When the topic finally shifted, she said, "You know, I don't think they ever believed they were lying. I think they just rewrote reality so they could live with themselves." That line stuck with me, because she was right. Neither Ryan nor Emily were cartoon villains. They were people who couldn't stand losing control, even when the truth was obvious. They needed to win the story, not the person. And when I stopped playing, they started eating themselves alive. I heard bits and pieces through mutuals. Emily moved to another city, started a smaller account under a new handle, posting self-growth quotes and vague captions about rebuilding. She lost most of her followers after everything came out, but she still has a small audience that believes in her redemption arc. Ryan's divorce finalized in June. He tried reaching out once, just a text saying, "Sorry for the mess, man." I deleted it. Not out of hate, out of fatigue. I still see a therapist once a month. Carla says I process things like an engineer. Everything has to be structured, labeled, backed up. Maybe she's right. But that mindset saved me. Every screenshot, every note, every quiet decision not to react. That's what kept me from being erased. And that's something I wish more people understood. When someone lies about you, it's not about winning their story. It's about preserving yours. Sometimes, late at night, I reread her last message. The one that said, "You'll regret this. You ruined my life." And I finally see the irony. Because all I did was stop playing her game. She ruined her own story trying to control mine. Last month, I got a wedding invitation. Not from her, of course. From Hannah. She's getting remarried in spring. Her daughter drew a picture on the back of the card, 3 stick figures holding balloons. For the first time in a long while, I smiled without bitterness. It made me think, maybe healing isn't proving you were right. Maybe it's realizing you no longer need to. I still keep a folder on my computer labeled Proof. It has every screenshot, message, log. My lawyer said I could delete it now, that it's legally closed. But I haven't. Not out of vengeance, out of memory. Because that folder isn't about her anymore. It's about me. The version of me that stayed calm when the world called him a monster. The version that didn't scream, didn't crumble, didn't perform. Just waited, watched, documented, until truth arrived, quietly, like sunlight after a long storm. People sometimes ask if I'd ever reach out to her again, for closure, forgiveness, whatever. I always give the same answer. Closure isn't a conversation. It's the moment you realize silence no longer feels like punishment. And for the first time in my life, I'm okay with silence.